and in a more pure sense is probably welcome home. Canby is still an amazing place to be from, and for me and my family, it's an amazing place to live. It's amazing to be at this old gym. Rolf and I were talking about the appropriateness of it because those of us who are a little more experienced in life, this is where it all happened. This is a gym that was jam-packed on every event. The noise level inside here was unbelievable, even though somehow Randy's K's whistle seemed to pierce through everything else and get above all of it. But welcome back and welcome home. Canby still has had, and I think always will have, some of the greatest students and kids on the face of the planet. And a lot of those are represented here this evening as well. And with that thought in mind, on your tables you'll find some brochures about the Canby Blue and Gold Foundation. The Canby Blue and Gold Foundation was founded in the mid-70s, mid-80s by a group of businessmen and community leaders that thought we need to have a scholarship program for the kids of this community. They organized it, they put it together, and since 1987, $441,125 in scholarships have been awarded to the students of Canby High School. Two of those were mine, and as one poor old dad, thank you very much. In the last 3 years alone, however, $118,500 has been awarded in scholarships. For years we had a goal of being able to get every senior who applied a minimum of a $1,000 scholarship, and we have accomplished that goal in the last 3 years. That's an amazing credit to this community. So, as I told Rolf, one of the ulterior motives behind this gathering, and Lauren Hacker was one that kind of put me wise to this, is getting people back to this community and letting them know Canby still has awesome students. There's a few adults I'd like to shoot, but the kids are great. And that's all I'll say about that. So what I would say and direct your attention to is if you have been so blessed and are so able, we ask that you would consider giving to our Blue and Gold Foundation, that we can continue awarding at least a minimum of 1,000. I think the goal is to get to 2, and then 5, and then 10,000. Some of you kind of choke on that thought of 10,000. There are communities that have already accomplished that. And I think that's a worthy goal and effort for our community. As my dear friend, Mr. Dwayne England once said, if it can be done, Canby will. So let's go get it done. At this time, I would like to recognize and thank the Hall of Fame committee members, an amazing group of people that I get to work with throughout the years. You can find their names on the back of your program. Mr. Perry Fink, who is our athletic director and is one of our co-chairs. Milo Larson, who was the heart and the voice of this program for so many years. And I think the reason he wanted me on the committee was so I'd take over this job so he didn't have to do it anymore. Mr. Chris Nemitz, Reed Merrill, Gordy Agasmo, Allison Pescick, Patty Merritt, Carol Gorder, Coach Jerry Jingles, David Levy, Alan Salty, and Greg Cockleman. Would you please thank these amazing Also at this time, we have several previous Hall of Fame inductees who are here with us this evening. I can see a few of them around here. If you are a member of the Canby Sports Hall of you please stand up and be recognized? Come on, Merritt. Red, gold. There we go. Brewster. Well, with that being done, let's begin the awarding. The first category that we're going to present this evening are the loyal answers. If you look on that same back page, it was originally entitled Contributor. Well, we didn't think Contributor sounded like a really great presentation to have, so we changed it to Loyal Answer. A contributor is someone who has been a loyal and devoted supporter of Canby High School athletics, or has distinguished him or herself in athletics and brought state and national recognition to Canby, Minnesota. So, our first Hall of Fame Loyal Answer inductee will be the amazing late Gene Koppelman, and to accept this plaque on our behalf is Jerry. Come on up, sir. Gene Koppelman was a loyal Hansen fan for over 45 years. You could count on her presence at all types of sporting events. She loved cheering on the athletes, cheerleaders, and coaches, especially her sons, daughters, grandsons, and granddaughters. She will be fondly remembered for her piercing two-finger whistle and supportive cry, "You could do it." Jerry.
I'm a little bit nervous. It was a lot easier wrestling in here than it is standing up here in front of all you people, but I think we'll get it done. I'd like to thank you all for being here. It's really great to see everyone here. It's a great honor for me to be here accepting this award for my mother with all these great Lancer athletes and fans. My mom's career as a Lancer fan began about 1968 or 69 when my sister Judy and I were in high school. Mom worked at the high school. She was a teacher's aide. She raised 5 kids, kept the house in order, fed us, but she was always ready to go when it was time to go watch her kids compete. She didn't see my first wrestling match, or she was there, but she was too scared to watch. She put her hands over her face and prayed. I lost that match, but I didn't get hurt. So the next time she started watching, and she grew a love for the sport. She loved watching wrestling. She had a football injury at one time. She's going to one of Greg's football games, and she was climbing the bleachers and slipped, and she hurt her knee. And she limped around for quite a while, and we always gave her a hard time about her football injury. Mom's career as a Lancer fan began when the Lancer wrestling was in its early years of its great dynasty. She watched the Lancers win the first region championship in 1970. Saw them win the first state title in 76. She used to sit up there in the balcony, right there, and she made a lot of noise. A lot mentioned her whistle, and she taught me how to whistle like that. She taught Pat how to whistle like that. Maybe we're the only ones that learned how, but I'll give you a little sample here. during a wrestling match. In the 70s, with Greg and I competing in my sister's cheerleading, Mom and Dad didn't miss many football games or wrestling matches. So we have to give my dad a little bit of credit for my mom being the awesome Lancer fan she was. They were at every state wrestling tournament from 1972 and into the 90s. And my mom made it to a few more after that. She watched Dave win his state championship. Saw Chad win his. Saw the 86 team win theirs. And although she wasn't much of a basketball fan, I know she went to a few games. She's seen Eric play football. And even the sports she didn't watch, she was always happy and excited for the athletes when they did well. Mom loved watching her grandkids compete as well. She saw Tony, Nick, and Ross wrestle in the state tournament. She watched them play football in the state tournament in 2000. She watched her granddaughter Leslie run cross country, watched my daughters play volleyball and basketball. And she was, right up until a year ago, she was still going to football games to watch her grandson coach Lancers. And she was still going to volleyball games, basketball. She always had words of encouragement and positive things to say to anyone. And as long as you did your best, it didn't matter if you won or lose. She was always positive. There are a lot of things about my mother that I don't ever want to forget. And one of them is that she was a loyal Lancer fan. And I can't think of a better group of athletes for her to go into the Hall of Fame with than these people right up here. Thank you very much.
Greg and I were talking. Granny K was one of those people that when you saw her, you just lit up because she could light up a room. She's a pretty amazing lady because when we first moved back to Canby, I was here in this gym at some choir concert or band concert or something my kids were in. And as I was heading out the door, all of a sudden, somebody grabbed me and gave me a huge bear hug. And I looked down, and Jean looked up at me and said, "We are so glad you moved back. You'll never forget somebody that does that for you." And that's just the kind of super special little lady with a heart probably bigger than she was. That was our Granny K. Our next loyal Lancer inductee is my neighbor, kind of kitty corner across the alley, Mr. Jim Huber. And Chris, would you come up to present the plaque to Jim? Jim, your plaque reads as such. Since coming to town in 1968, Jim Huber and Jim's Market have been valued supporters of all activities at Canby High School. Jim has been instrumental in helping improve and maintain the softball, baseball, and football fields here in Canby. And no matter the activity, Jim supported it. If the students were willing to work at a fundraiser, Jim would donate in support of their activity. Jim provided students with part-time employment, adjusting their schedules so they would not miss a practice or an event.
Pretty much said my speech, so. Do as good as Jerry did. It's a great privilege to introduce my dad, Jim Huber, as he receives this distinctive honor to join the Canby Hall of Fame. With the help of my family and friends, I have acquired some intriguing information about my dad that you may or may not know. As for myself, some of these things went unnoticed. I solicited some information from other people, and one of those individuals is Steve Lang, who some of you may remember. He was the general manager of the Canby News from 1981 to 87, and had this to say about my dad. Shortly after meeting Jim Huber 35 years ago, he learned I loved baseball, then said he wanted to start a town team the following spring. I took him at his word because it became an oft-repeated topic during my weekly visits to his store during my advertising calls and shopping trips. One week, Jim included mention of an upcoming fundraiser, dinner, all food and extras borne by Jim's Red Owl, with the mention that I would be managing the newly formed Canby Knights. As I recall, Jim's message paid me some undeserved accolades, but despite my shortcomings, a team was organized. My managerial success rivaled that of Casey Stengel before and after he managed the New York Yankees. And like me, numerous players and managers have come and gone. But 35 years later, thanks in no small part to Jim's persistence, financial support, and encouragement, Canby amateur baseball continues. From the perspective of many local guys and gals, he was a man who loved sports. In particular, any sport that involved running around the bases. He supported so many women's and men's teams, softball and baseball, throughout the years. We all saw a man who had pride in our town of Canby and wanted to represent it in the best ways that he could. He did this because he loved the kids and loved being around them. As an athlete himself, my dad has always been approachable for any athletic endeavor. As most of you know, he arranged fundraisers for so many local events, providing dinners, concession stands, barbecues, coupons, etc. for anything that helped support the Canby Lancers and many other community events. But he didn't only financially support the town and the Lancers. I remember one day passing my dad on Highway 68. I was in the car, and he was riding the lawnmower, still in his white apron from the store, headed to the baseball field to mow it. No idea how many times he did that, or how many times he raked the mound, or cleaned the dugouts. He did this because he wanted Canby to be the best it could be. He is proud of our town. So many Canby Lancers started their work careers at Jim's Red Owl / Super Value. I remember my dad doing the work schedules, but first asking if there were any games that week before he finalized the schedule. You know, Canby sports trump work to Jim. In particular, I remember him telling Doug Hansen, who is here tonight, he needed to stay off his feet before a basketball game to ensure he was a leading scorer. As a fan, you probably never saw my dad with the Canby Lancer t-shirt or waving the pom-poms saying, "Orange and blue, we're all for you." But when he was present, everyone knew. Again, Steve Lang shared this story with me that I want to share with you. As a fan, he has never been shy in his support for Lancer teams, nor has he been reluctant to express his opinion regarding questionable officiating. During my first year at the Canby News, I covered the Lancer football game against Grand Falls. Some of you are already chuckling if you remember this story. I wasn't there, so I didn't see this. But Jim took offense at what considered to be a blatant but uncalled roughing the passer penalty with Paul the victim. He strode onto the field, stepped into the officials' huddle, and quietly but stridently questioned their lack of vision and perhaps offered them discount coupons for their next ice. A yellow flag for a personal foul was promptly tossed. Jim picked the flag up, glanced at it for a couple of strides, then dropped it back on the field and walked into the stands. I thought about blowing my nose in it, but I realized that would be another 15-yard penalty. That's what he told me later. There are many other stories that I could share, but I think you get the point. His passion for Canby athletics is big. Although my dad is somewhat reluctant in receiving this award, we all know he is very deserving of it. Congratulations, Dad, for your long-standing commitment to Canby High School. Go Lancers. Orange or blue?
Well, I couldn't hear her, so should I be glad to say that? Anyway, I came to Canby about 50 years ago and saw what I thought was one of the nicest towns in Minnesota, and I decided to start my business here and my family. I'm so glad I did because Canby has been very good to me and my family, creating memories that we still talk about and laugh about. Chris shared some of those stories with you tonight, and I loved every minute of it, even if I couldn't hear it. I grew up playing ball, and I always liked being around the team and excitement, so when I moved to Canby, I wanted to help the kids and local teams. I found that these kids were always looking for summer jobs too, so I hired a lot of them, and I was so sad to see them go after the summer. My girls joined the Girl Scouts and wanted to help them too, so we started having fundraisers and cookie sales at the store, and I realized that giving back a heck of a lot to the community was a heck of a lot of fun and made me feel part of the community that I loved. The next thing you know, Wayne Burlingame came to me one day and asked if I would help coach Little League Ball, and so I had to turn a page. I know I've not told many of you, but as an athlete I did know a thing or two about baseball, so there I was out in the field coaching some of the best little leaguers. These kids are some of the nicest kids a coach could ask for. We had girls that could hit the field as good as the boys. I don't remember if we won or lost many games, but I do know we had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed coaching and thought that our kids were as good as any team, so I started a team and we joined the American Legion League, and what fun we had. I was now a team owner. and many of these kids worked at the store with me. These kids were diligent and hardworking, both on the field and in the store, always giving 100% effort. I was so proud of my team, whether we won or lost, because I knew they were good kids and would always be winners to me. Canby was a great choice for me to raise my family and fulfill my coaching dreams. Parents and teachers in Canby community should be applauded for enriching our young people and helping them grow into the adults they are today. It was those individuals that should be up here on the stage today. As the years passed, I realized that being around the kids, watching them grow up, and having the opportunity to be part of the team has been a great blessing in my life. And so I tonight am accepting the honor on behalf of all the great teams and players that created so many great memories. In closing, I thank you for this honor and opportunity to get up here tonight. When I was a kid, my teacher made us get up in front of the class, speak some kind of a speech or get an in for the day, and my turn was always mark it down. My response to that would be, mark it down and got it on, get a little bit screwed up there. You can call my teacher and see if she will raise my grade from an F to a D minus.
Well, Jim, we are so glad you decided to move to Canby. Just for fun, how many people here, raise your hands, have either worked at Jim's, Red All, Super Value Market, or played on the Canby sponsor? Raise your hands. There's your legacy, Jim. Oh, and for the family, I just want you to know, that'd be better, yeah, never mind. For the family, I just want you to know, since we moved into Walnut, never have had to call the police to complain about too much partying going on over Dad and Grandpa's house. So just want you to rest assured he does behave himself. Now, we'll get into our first team induction. Would Patty Merritt please come up and introduce the 1993 girls 4x800 relay team?
Well, I'd like to have the girls come up. Allie, Allison, Ann, Carrie, and Teresa. So as DeLon said, the next team to be inducted into the Canby Athletic Hall of Fame is the 1993 Girls 4x8 Relay Team. 1993 was actually my first year coaching track. I was given charge of the distance runners, and that included this group of young ladies. This group had something special, and it was clear from the beginning. Each one, of course, had their own personalities, interests, all that away from the track. They weren't the same age, maybe weren't the best friends, but between them, they each held a unique role within the team. There was, according to these girls, there was the mom, the boss, the analyzer, and the motivator. But they certainly had one major quality in common. They all loved to run the 800-meter race, and they loved to run it fast. A little history. The 2 years prior to 93, Canby's 4x8 relay also qualified for and ran at the state meet, but not completely the same team. Pam Teresa Sr. ran with 3 of these girls in 91. In 92, a 7th grader joined the team, Sarah Greasy, and ran a leg of the relay. In 93, Sarah suffered an injury, and Ann stepped in, along with Carrie Greasy as the alternate. During the 93 season, I came in with an interval training coaching strategy. We ran interval after interval, working on speed and stamina. We threw in a few distance days, but the focus of this relay was the intervals. I'm sure these young ladies weren't always my biggest fans during some of these practice days, but they respected me and my strategy, and I respected them for their hard work and dedication. I knew a little about these girls from the previous cross-country season. I knew that they knew how to stay motivated and how to be a successful team. They interchanged their positions in the relay throughout the season, depending on their competition. I trusted them for this because they studied their competition. They knew who they were running against, they knew the team strategies and their times. This team placed first in every meet during the season up to the state meet. During the season, they never had a tight race, not even at sections. But going into the state meet, their qualifying time of 9:52 landed them in 10th spot out of the 12 teams. So they had a hard battle ahead of them. But they stayed calm, focused on what they knew they needed to do. The girls were called out to the track and Carrie and I left for the stands. Allie started the race and had to pass a lot of runners to get herself settled into the number 2 position before handing off to Ann. Allie's split was 2 minutes and 22 seconds. Ann took the baton and finished her leg in 2 minutes and 25 seconds, now in the 3rd position, but just by 1 second. She handed off to Allison, who maintained that position with her split of 2 minutes and 25 seconds. The last handoff was Teresa. She took the baton and ran strong. She had confidence she could hold that 3rd place position, but coming into the last turn, the last 100 meters, she knew she had more to give. And surged past the International Falls girl and crossed the finish line in 2nd place. Her split. Everyone contributed to their fullest, and together they shaved 15 seconds off their best time for a time of 9:36. This 3,200 meter relay team set a new school record, which still stands 23 years later. I'm proud to announce the next team inducted into the Canby Athletic Hall of Fame. The 4x8 relay team of Allie Voss Kingston, Ann Dipsetter, Allison Drees, Teresa Erb-Dellen, and Carrie Beasy Phelan.
I'm Allie Voss Kingston. On behalf of all these gals, thank you so much for everyone who organized these awards. Thank you for nominating us. Thank you to Patty and Scorder, and I have to thank Coach Bredesen too whenever I think about running days. And thanks to our family and friends who were here for us back in the day and who are here supporting us again tonight, so thank you. And to these gals back here, I would like to say thank you so much for everything. We had a special team throughout all the years of high school, and you guys always supported me and supported each other, and I remember always feeling like we belonged together. Running on this team and with some of the other gals that came in and out of our team, like Patty said, were some of my best memories of high school, and I know these guys feel the same way too. We ran together for a lot of years, so there's a lot of memories, and it's hard to single out just this season, but I do remember carb loading with pasta dinners together, and I remember a lot of orange and blue, like hair ties and braces, bands, and socks, and shoelaces, all these things. And I remember running in all kinds of Minnesota weather that you could even imagine, or in the worst days, I remember running up and down these stairs and through the gym and through the hallways just to get some running in. I remember those hot days on the track, like Patty was talking about, with ladders and intervals, and they were a little bit torturous sometimes on that gravel track, with the gravel slipping underneath us and just dust and sweat. And I remember pretty much literally not speaking with any of these gals those days from the warm-up through the end. It was like we knew what was coming, and then once we were in it, it was pretty torturous, and then once it was over, we were too exhausted to speak. And at our meets, I remember scoping out the competition, like she was saying. We were always trying to figure out what leg these gals from other schools would run, like Carrie and Emily and Heather, and we knew these gals' names and that they were great runners, but I don't think we always registered that we probably had what they wanted, and we had a team together to run with and compete with, a total team effort, and I don't think we sometimes took that for granted. I do remember changing our running order sometimes, but like she said, at this meet it was me, then Ann, then Allison, and then Teresa. Sometimes the 4x8, it was the first race of the meet, so I remember many meets where the bus was pulling up almost right as our race started, and we would run down to the track and get going right away. I remember teams not wanting to wait for us and being right at the starting line, and then being bummed out when we did show up on time. Nobody wanted to race against us. And I remember being on the medal stand with these gals many, many times, and I just remember always going home with medals and kind of being the first people to get points for our team at every meet, and that was pretty awesome. And I remember Bus rides, sleeping on the floor of the bus. I remember always stopping at Hardee's. I remember tons of Gatorade. I remember being goofy together with these gals. We were totally comfortable with each other, which sometimes is a rare thing in high school and, you know, among a group of girls, but we could always be ourselves. I think at first we were surprised by our success, but then, you know, we kind of slowly figured it out. All we needed to do was work hard and work together, and that medal or trophy was right there for us to grab. And I know we talked a lot about luck and superstition. There's a lot of things, you know, in sports where people are superstitious, but luck didn't have too much to do with what we were doing. It was more just hard work and the heart that goes into it, and support from our coaches and families, and the love and support that we give each other. And so running with these gals, I just think it was the best experience that sports could have been for us. And so again, from us gals, thank you to families, coaches. Thanks for the nomination tonight. Times everything that I said by 4 or 5, because I know these gals feel the same way. Thank you.
Congratulations, ladies. Our next team to be inducted into the Hall of Fame is the 86 wrestling team, and Jerry Jingles. Do you want to come up and introduce your guys?
Thank you. I looked at that picture of the 86 team. It's hard to believe the talent that we had on that team. There were 9 seniors. We had good sophomores, and we had 2 juniors in there. Our alternates would have started on 99% of the teams in the state. We had B squatters that we left at home that were very good. 6 of the 12 qualified as an individual for the state tournament, and we did not have a true second match in 86. If we'd had a true second match in the region tournament, we'd had a couple more entries. I'm just looking at the scrapbooks, and it's amazing. Marshall 61-0. Worthington won 1 match against this team. There was a duel with Adrian first part of January. I don't know how many of you were there. We were 2 in the state. I think Staples was 1, Canby was 2, Adrian was 3. And Adrian came in for a dual meet, and it was in the new gym, and the place was packed. It was just a classic duel. One of the things about wrestling I don't like anymore is there's very many of these old classic duels. We used to duel Olivia, Clarkfield, Madison, Painesville. And now it's they've gone pretty much to tournaments. So I really miss that. I think it hurts wrestling that we don't do that anymore. Of course, the loss was to Apple Valley. I was talking to some of the guys out in the lobby. That still kind of haunts us. That was in December. We'd been up to Moorhead to a tournament. Rusty got hurt up there. Rusty wasn't in the lineup. Rusty usually got 6 when he was in the lineup. We probably wrestled better in February than we did in December. But anyway, we lost to Apple Valley. And then that Staples match, I think Staples had won 6 straight state tournaments. And I think we wrestled Staples 7 or 8 times in the state tournament. And every time we wrestled Staples, it was for first and second. Whether we met in the first round or the championship, it was that big a match. And in that Staples match, we had Tuomo was a state champion. Todd Paulson was the runner-up. I think Chad was 3rd. Lynn was 4th. And the other guys were just as good. They could have placed as easy as the ones that did. Anyway, when we wrestled Staples, they had the same kind of team we did, and there was no respect for state place winners or state entries. We beat some of their best kids, and they beat some of our best kids. And it came down to the Toll boys. Mark and Mike were the last two, and the score was tied. And we had to come out first, and we put Mark on the mat, and he got a fall. And so then Mike went out, and all he had to do was stay off his back, which he did, and we won by 3 points. But that was a real great duel. I think I want to bring these kids up. I don't have as many up here as I'd like to see, but I think I'll bring the ones that I can find on the picture here. Don, come on up. And we have Chuck Brown, who's here, I don't think. Rusty is here. Tomo's not here. John Kopperud's here. Craig Nelson, I don't think is here. Mark and Mike are not here. And we have Todd Hoffman was manager. Lynn is here. Jeff Jeremiahson, Chris Cleveland. Jason isn't with us anymore. Todd isn't here. Chad's here. So come on up on the stage here. I think a couple of them would like to speak. We got Mr. Lynn Cleveland over here.
Thank you, Coach. Truly an honor. We just carried on the tradition that started back in the 70s, and there was a lot of pressure not to be the first team to not make it to the state, so we were just trying to keep it rolling. But honestly, we look just towards that tradition, and we want them to respect it and give the Canby what they deserve. There's so many people that we have to thank. You don't get here alone. Our parents, they drove us to tournaments in conversion vans. Silly caught them at 4 o'clock in the morning at his house. He loved every kid that was there and taking them to a tournament in Iowa. That's pretty incredible sacrifice for him. Our brothers and sisters who had to do chores and were out of practice and had to put up with us taking them down in the living room and wrecking our parents' furniture. And Mom saying, "Hey, it's a snowstorm, I'm not going to get to the hospital." So we did a lot of that. And, to our teachers, they know that school wasn't our main focus. November to March 1st, and then we just wanted to eat in March. So to our teachers, we really do owe a lot. They put a lot of time into us. They gave us a lot of good skills and credit that we took with us the rest of our lives. To a guy named Eskel Song, it would have been much easier if we just wrestled teams that were not as challenging as the ones we did. But somehow Eskel got with Mr. Jingles, and all of a sudden we're wrestling Painesville and Adrian, and going up to a town called Apple Valley, whose high school is bigger than South Dakota State University, I think. Incredible that there was nobody on our team that had not won. Everybody got beat somewhere along the line. And we learned more from losing, and we learned more from winning from the coach. To our fans, what can we say about our fans? You packed gyms 100 miles away more than their crowd did. You guys drove through snowstorms, and we're always there to cheer us on. It's incredible. And tell you what, running out on the mat here at Canby, when the crowd is going crazy, you can't, only the guys that get to do it know the thrill of that. And I thank you guys for all supporting that. To the alumni that came back to the wrestling room, thought they would come up there and beat up us, the young high school kids. Then they found out how out of shape they really were. They came for about 2 days and then they left. and seriously, to the alumni, we totally respected that. Came up there. We had so many good coaches that came back, and I can't even name all the names, but it was a lot of fun. It's just a tradition that we have passed on through the generations of wrestling. To the other wrestlers in the wrestling room, we had a big wrestling room, and it was packed. I think we had 45 kids out for wrestling. And like Coach Dingle said, our B team could have probably made it to the state tournament in any other region that they were at. So, I mean, we practiced incredibly hard. These guys were some of the fiercest competitors I've ever met in my life. Every takedown up there was you would end up in the wall, into the curtain, and it was easier to wrestle a team tournament or anything than practice. Practice was brutal, and I just could not imagine being as good as we were without these guys. Incredible determination to not lose any point or any takedown. They were incredible. I just was able to sit back and go, this is an incredible team. We had Mr. Mortensen. He was our medic, kind of our counselor, and you know, he got us in shape. Kept us our cardiovascular up. We talked about running the stairs, and that was painful. It kept us really in good shape. To our cheerleaders, we had Tracy and Wendy Shelley, Mary Kay Treats, and Lisa Peterson. You guys did an awesome job. You kept the energy of the crowd going. A wrestler needed to get some noise going in the crowd, and that was awesome. We wouldn't have done it without you guys, and it was, you came with us everywhere we went and stayed on that. You know, we lost, you gave us our orange and smile. It was very awesome. To Mr. Jingles, I mean, what can we say about this guy? He saw that, I think he was retired, and then he started looking at this 9th grade team coming up and said, I better get back into wrestling if I can get another couple of state championships. So Mr. Hacker had to step aside and go to another town and be a coach. Didn't turn out as well as we thought it would. So it was just an honor. It was an honor to be a captain. You look back at all the captains that were on the teams previous and next teams coming up. Just an honor to be a captain on this team. I would just say that that's the one thing I'll take for the rest of my life, being a captain of this team. So thank you very much.
Okay, I get to say a few things. I'm Don Delorier, the other captain. It was quite a lot of fun. We had a blast. These guys were awesome. In the last 30 years, you meet all kinds of people. And wherever you go, you mentioned something about Canby. If they know anything about wrestling, the first question is, did you wrestle? You probably say yes. Second question, what was Coach Jingles like? What you saw is that was it. You see him there, he sat there, he didn't move. That was it. We asked him one day, you know, why don't you holler, get all fired up, such as Gary Hint or Rick Elvington, throw a chair or something. His response is, and it stuck with me forever, if you don't know what you're doing when you go out there, it's too late. Pretty quick and simple, so he had no reason to holler at us because we were always so well prepared. He always knew the match was what was going to happen before we even went over. Bredesen too. He was our Phi-Ed teacher in elementary school. His curriculum, and I don't know if anybody knew it, his curriculum was Wrestling 101. Started in September and got done in May. I don't think we did any other sports. It was wrestling. That was it. So by the time we got to high school, we were ready. Couple stories. They'll be okay. One guy that was sort of he was sort of a hero. He wrestled Terry Jenigas in the regions. Terry Jenigas was ranked #1 at 132. Jeff Jeremiahson, this is. He beat Terry Jenigas. We get to the state tournament, Against Staples, he's wrestling Darryl Card. He's number 1 in the state at 126. Jeff beat him 8-1. This is a guy, Jeff actually was out for basketball for one day. 7th grade, he went out for basketball. For one day, he came back. Another story is our senior year, we're getting ready to go to Dawson Boyd, our first duel. And I think this is the only person, I've never seen it since, Rusty Cockman had a mohawk. Okay, now, how did Jingles let that get by? Okay. So anyway, we get over to Dawson, we're standing there for weigh-ins. Back then you had nothing on. Here stands Rusty with a stocking cap. They call his weight. He takes the stocking cap off, and the Dawson guys all start laughing, and we're shaking our head like, he is gonna hurt somebody tonight. And he did. We could always count on that. The last story I got is about Lynn Cleveland. We were wrestling over in Brookings. And back then in South Dakota, you could weigh in early. I think it was 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock or something. So some of us weighed in and ran down to PK Higgins and had pizza and cold buns. You shouldn't do that before a wrestling match. Okay, so we get there. Jeff's wrestling. Lynn's up next. I'm after Lynn. And we're sitting there. Jeff was getting ready to go out there. And Lynn looks at me and he goes, I gotta go to bed. I go, what? He says, I gotta go and I gotta go now. And I'm like, you can't go. All of a sudden I turn around and he's gone. Jeff is out there wrestling and Jeff has beat this kid. And back then that was the first year of the tech fall. Jeff gets a tech fall in about 3.5 minutes. I turn around, here comes Lynn. Lynn did make it and Lynn pinned his guy. But he really scared me because I was going to turn, they were going to turn around and I'm like, I don't know where he's at. Anyway, it was a blast. Thank you very much, and it's quite the honor.
Congratulations, Steve. Now, we will get on with the individual inductees. Our first inductee is Mr. Rolf Kopperud. He is going to be receiving his plaque from his college roommate, Dennis Oscar Hansen, who impressed the heck out of me because he's one of a very, very few people that actually knows another Clark's name. So come on up, Dennis.
Well, thank you. I just realized I'm the only outsider here. So hopefully you'll listen to what I have to say about my roomie. You're probably wondering how I got here in the first place. You kind of use my old friend Paul Harvey's statement, it's the rest of the story. I'm from Tyler. Now I will guarantee you there's no bigger fan of Tyler High School sports than me. So, 1970, we are 20-1. And who we played in the district semifinals with Canby. Now we heard about this Kopperud kid. Pretty good. But we were pretty good too. Halftime, we're up 12 points. Kopperud's got 6 points total. And I'm thinking, we're better than they are. No problem. Well, it's 20 points second half, they beat us in overtime. So, 6 months go by, I go to school in Morris, and who is my roommate? Now you gotta figure, there's no way I can like this guy. He just broke my heart 6 months earlier, and now I gotta live with it. Well, it took about 10, maybe 12 minutes to figure out that he was a pretty classy guy. So, I really had no intention to go off for basketball in Morris, but Rolf kind of talked me into at least trying out, and miracles that made the freshman team. I think the coach said, well, we need a center in the worst way, and you're a center in the worst way, so get out there. So that was my career. I figured out a couple years later, I think the reason Ralph talked me into that was because I think he wanted to punish me in practice every day and make it easy for him. That was me. But it was interesting too because we certainly had a lot of fun. But Ralph went on to have a great career. And there was a bunch of people that he introduced me to over the years that I really have become very close friends with. I see a few of them sitting out here now. Cindy Christianson, Nancy Christianson, Kate Christianson, that whole group. John Hansen I got to know. Mark Holman, a bunch of kids that I would have never known otherwise through Ralph. So, even though I was his biggest fan, I also got to meet a lot of people that way. It was a good accomplishment for me. But, a sidelight, my parents weren't able to make any of my games. So Carol and Lloyd, and obviously the rest of the family, with Kevin and with Jane, they all were my biggest supporters. We went to all the games, and they were the first to encourage me. So I want to thank the family for that. I'm going to actually read a few of the accomplishments here. I didn't memorize those, so I'll just go through them. In football, he was all-conference. In basketball, he was a two-time all-conference player. I think his junior year, Tracy, I think, came in as the #1 seed. And Ralph had, again, 6 points at halftime. And then again, top 20 in the second half. Went on to beat Tracy. Took Canby to the region. They lost to Libya, unfortunately, but he was their main leader. So they were District 9, and they were the runner-up, I think, in the senior year, if I remember correctly, lost to Marshall. But then we went on to Morris. He was a 3-year letterman up there. But in the meantime, he'd been to, like, I don't know how many times he was all-conference here in the different sports, but he was a CCO player in the team, all-state team, and he was the all-area team. Ended up scoring 872 points. I don't think I told Ralph this, but I was 1,000 myself. Of course, it was 500 turnovers and 500 fouls. 1,000 is 1,000. It's a good number. So we got to Morris, and he became an instant star over there by shooting those long 30-footers. And I talked to a good friend of mine just the other day, Hall of Famer himself, a guy who went to school with named Larry Creek. I told him I was coming here tonight, and he said, you know what? A lot of times you meet these athletes, and they're just kind of, sometimes they can be a real jerk. And then you get guys like Rolf Kopperud, who are great and humble. And that pretty much describes him. He was a well-liked athlete at Morris, and obviously very successful. Co-captain his senior year, scored over 500 points with a pretty good team. I think we finished third in the conference the year he was a senior. So he had some success there. Then he went on to coaching. And when he started coaching, he went to Mora. And he took a state or a conference championship back in 1977. Then he moved on to North Dakota State for 7 years. And he was the head baseball coach at North Dakota State and the assistant basketball coach there. Then he moved on to Luther College, where he was again the head basketball coach there. I know how many guys have been head coaches in 2 different sports in college, but I'm guessing not too many of them. I would say he had a fairly successful coaching career on top of the playing career. So, I guess with that, I'm just going to say, I'm going to leave up there and get the honor he deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. My mom walked through here today, and all the names are up here, walked past her. And she sees Dennis Hansen's name up here. And she said, Dennis Hansen, who's that? And I looked at her and funny. She said, Dennis Hansen, who's that? And I said, that's Oscar. And she goes, Oscar? I never knew his first name was Dennis. He said, when I went to Morris, first year, my folks dropped me off, and I didn't know too many people. And I went into the dorm, and Oscar is one of the first people I met, and instant friend. instant connection. And we've been friends for all of those years. And anywhere you go, you mention the word Oscar. In many places, you don't know it immediately. And that's his nickname. But Oscar's been a great friend. In the Tyler area, he's from Tyler. I want to talk about it just a little bit because of the friendship we have. But in the Tyler area, he has a museum. And it's been advertised or promoted in the Marshall Independent a couple of times. It is amazing. I wish every small town had something like that. He has annuals and score books from 1913, 1920. He's got old uniforms or cheerleader uniforms. It's just an amazing museum. He knows people all over. We're sitting up here with the line, and they're talking about people at South Dakota State in southern Minnesota bringing up names. Bring Oscar. Yeah, I know who that is. I know somebody related to him or whatever. But Oscar's a great friend and just a great person. So thank you, Oscar. I just want to say a couple things here. This is a great environment for me to be in. This kid, come back in here. I couldn't pick a better place to be honored or be recognized like this. So there's great memories in here. I remember my dad talking about the teams in the 1950s. And many of the players and some of the teams are on the wall in the Hall of Fame. But tremendous history here. And then to watch some of the teams in the 1960s play, and then to be able to play in this game is a tremendous privilege. And it's a tremendous memory to come back to this. That's great. I want to thank or congratulate the other inductees, the other Hall of Famers. It's an honor to go into the Hall of Fame with you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for recognizing me. I want to recognize a few people here. My mother is here, Carol Kopperud. Would you raise your hand, Mom? Many of you on Canby know her, but she's been a tremendous supporter for us kids. And my dad is no longer here. He passed away 11 years. I know he would love to be here and be present for this. But as growing up at home, I do not remember one time coming home from a game when they either criticized the coach, they criticized the official, they criticized another player. There was never a word that I've ever heard, and to this day I really appreciate that. Thanks, Mom. Also here is my sister Jean and her husband Dean. Raise your hands. And my great supporter of both of Kevin and I. And Kevin, my brother, and his wife Joan. Raise your hand. I want to mention a couple things about Kevin. We played on 2 varsity teams together, basketball and football, and we had some tremendous experiences and tremendous successes together as brothers. And really appreciate him and have that opportunity to play a sport, 2 sports with a brother that close. He himself was very successful in athletics. I went on in basketball, of course, in college, but he, in football, was all conference here in Canby. He went on to Concordia, played 4 years up in Moorhead. He was a starting guard on the MIC championship team. He was honorable mention all conference his senior year. So congratulations to Kevin. Also here, I want to recognize my children. My youngest daughter, Jennifer, back there, lives in Fargo. I want to recognize Kurt, our middle son, and his wife Shelley, right there. And my oldest son, Chris, from Chicago, and my grandson, Johan. And if you were at the game last night, football game, you got a chance to see. Just one thing about the display out front. I've had a couple comments of, boy, you got a lot of stuff up here. And boy, that's pretty nice display. A little explanation, because I think you deserve knowing that. You've been looking at what was there. I give the credit to my kids. And what happened was, I've never opened up the memorabilia, the articles. They've never seen much of that stuff from the past. And I told them I was going to be in the Hall of Fame, and they had this display table. So what I did was I took out all my stuff, laid it in the middle floor, of our living room and let them go through it. My daughter-in-law, Shelley, is the director of advertising and marketing for Choice Banks up in Fargo. So her expertise is exactly what you saw there. And so they went through all of that, and I want to thank them for taking the time and the effort to do that. I personally really appreciate it. It was a family affair, and thank you for doing that, you guys. So, I also want to mention just one thing about differences in play today from when we played back in the 60s. Played with some very successful teams, of course. But I look at today and look at the way athletics, especially basketball, maybe not so much football, but basketball back then, the line we were talking about it, some of the games and some of the atmosphere. When you came to this gym, you couldn't get in here many nights, or if you did, it was just packed. That side, all the bleachers here, the stages, the stage the band was just packed, great environment. But just a few differences. Back then, we had 4 quarters with 8 minutes a quarter. So we played a 32-minute game with jump balls. Now it's alternating between jump balls. It's only 18-minute halves, so they're 36 minutes. So they're playing 4 more minutes than they did back then. Also today they have a 3-point line, and back then we never had the 3-point line. It didn't come into play until the 80s. And I think with some of the teams Canby had, some of the shooters that came through this program, it would have made a tremendous difference. And the other thing, which I really appreciate, basketball was back then, it was a one-class system. And so when you went into the tournament, the state tournament, every team in the state was starting at the same point. Back then it was 432 teams starting. And you had to, even to get district championship, some teams had to win 6 games to get there. I really admire that 1950-51 team that's on the wall out there to get second place in a Minnesota State tournament in a one-class system. It's unbelievable. The movie Hoosiers, I think, exemplifies what that team of 1950-51 was. And so it was a one-class system. If you won 2 or 3 games, you might be playing somebody like Edina, Robbinsdale, or Wilmer, some of the bigger schools. So to get that far wasn't accomplished. So, the other difference, and then I'll close here. The other difference was today you have camps, you have tournaments. Back then we didn't have that. And my open gym or my tournament was up at a bar, Judy Bassett's. And I'd go up there to shoot hours by myself, turn the radio on, and just shoot thousands or hundreds of shots a day. So that was my open gym. The weight room was called a bail rack, Mom would call up and the neighbors would be bailing each log. And bail for 4 or 5 hours, 60 to 90 pound bales bouncing around an A-rack, throwing them all different directions, picking off with your fingers. By the end of the day, you just shot. Physically, I think, in that environment, growing up in that environment was really fun. So, but it's changed. So, I want to thank, in closing, I want to thank the committee for the recognition, for the honor. I've been very impressed with the way this Hall of Fame has been run. I've coached for 17 years, 14 at the college level. I've been involved with many banquets, many different nights like this, but the way that this is run and the way that it is organized, I compliment Canby High School. It is really well done. It's first class, skill. So, yes. My mother wants to say something, so I'm going to allow it. I don't know if I dare, but go ahead. If it's like normal, I never listen, so will you tell me, would you repeat it?
You have a wife and 2 were captains of
Thank you for that. Also, well, you brought up that point. I thank you for that, because I would be out the door. Thank you for that one. First of all, let me have her stand, but I also want, I'm going to go over 10 minutes here. So. Yeah, he said, if anybody has complaints, file them at 403 Micropolitan. Oscar's wife is here, Ariel. Would you stand? And my wife is sitting next to her. Would you stand? Would you two please stand? Don't raise your hand, stand, please. And as they stand, I just want to make one note to Oscar. I think we both married up big time. But I need to talk about her. She came to Morris the same year I did, 1970. So we came same year. We both went off for basketball, but there was one big difference. I had been recruited, and I played high school basketball and had success at it. Barb came to Morris. They never had girls basketball, organized girls basketball at that time. So she came to Morris and went out for the women's team as a freshman. It was the first organized women's team ever. The state colleges in Minnesota started women's organized basketball. A couple, 3 years later, it went to high school. But 1970, she was on the Morris team, the first women's organized team. She played 4 years, as I did. She was co-captain her senior year, as I was. We both wore number 20 on our uniforms. We both had the same. We both had the same last name because we'd been married that junior year. I was the third leading scorer on the team, but she was the second leading scorer on the team. And if I had known that then, what I know now, I'd have shot more. She came from Clara City, Minnesota. I came from Canby, Minnesota. She came in as the valedictorian of her senior class. I know this is going to come as a major shock to many of you, but I was not valedictorian. So many differences. We just, and I'll finish here. I'm done. I'm pushing the envelope here big time. But we just celebrated our 43rd wedding anniversary. We've had a great marriage over 43 years. She's been supportive as I've gone and traveled and taken new jobs and going up in the coaching profession, and she was so supportive coming along and letting me follow my dreams. And she's been a great wife, a great mother, and now a great grandmother. So thank you, Barb. Thank you.
It's not every day you get to introduce and see your childhood idol inducted into the Hall of Fame. I've told him that many times and he always got shy on me, but for those of us who grew up watching basketball here in the late 60s, early 70s, there was one guy you wanted to be when you were out in the barn shooting. You were Mouse. That was his nickname all those years. Congratulations, my friend. Next up, Mr. David Christianson will be introduced by Hall of Fame member, Mr. Coach Jerry Jingles.
First thing I got to do is apologize that 1986 wrestling team also had cheerleaders, and two of them are with us here tonight, and I'm sure you enjoyed watching them walk up here more than you enjoyed the boys watching. But the least we can do is have them stand, and Tracy Shalleck and Mary Kay, would you please stand and be recognized? I know I'm getting too old to be doing public speaking, But David, like Greg Cockerman, when the vote was taken and David was selected for the Hall of Fame, he went over to see, Greg went over to see David, and he said, congratulations, you're in the Hall of Fame, and you will need a presenter. And David said, well, how about Larry the Cable Man? And sorry, but Larry was unavailable. So he got me. And then I went back, that's a long time ago, 83, that's over 30 years ago, and I got to remember something about David Christianson. And I thought, and all of a sudden, Wayne Toll was on that team. No wonder I can't remember David Creston. How many of you ever saw Wayne Toll wrestle? Raise your hand. All right, I feel sorry for the rest of you. Wayne, remember that? David, you were captain and region champ, conference champ, state champ. But if we'd had a vote for who's my favorite Lancer wrestler, you'd have been distant second, I think. I saw Harold Burlingame go nose to nose with Esposam one time after a match. For some reason, I don't know who wrestled, but they forfeited at heavyweight, and Harold wanted his money back. What do I remember about David? Well, I remember at Christmas time, we had Christmas practices, and for some reason, New Year's must have been in the middle of the week, and we were talking before the practice. I was talking to the assistant coach, Bill Bredesen, and I said, we got to practice tomorrow, and he said, I don't want to. I don't either. And I said, okay, we won't practice. I'll go up and after practice, I'll tell the team we're not having practice. I better clear it with the captain, so I went upstairs and I told David, we're not going to practice tomorrow. Oh, no, we're going to practice. He wanted to practice. Okay, practice tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We drug ourselves out of bed and we got up here and as practice started, looked around, guess who's not here? So we sent the manager down and contacted him by telephone, and he got up here. The other thing I remember was a state tournament match. David's in the finals. There's 12,000 fans in the arena there, and they're down by Matt's side. It gets pretty intense, and he's going to wrestle Ted Boerboom from Adrian, and I'm looking around there, and boy, what can go wrong? And here I look around, and Jerome is behind us, and so keep an eye on him. We don't need him on the mat. He would have been the first Canby dad that ever got overexcited at a wrestling match. So anyway, the match is going, and they're neither one of them's going to ride either one very long. Neither one of them's going to turn the other one. It's pretty much going to be a real tight match, and they kind of drift over, and I just remember this. I can still see it. Boerboom's about 5'10", 6 foot, and David's not that tall, and he's leading him around with this collar and tie, and David's kind of dancing around. They come right by our chairs, and it was just in the air. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen right now. And Boerboom reached for a heel pick, and David cleared his leg, and Boerboom shucked his head. He's going to go behind him, and David shucked his elbow, counter shucked, and jumped behind him, and there's 2 points, and that was the match right there. The second period ended, and that was enough right there. Boerboom didn't have a chance to get away, and I don't remember the score, but It all happened there about 1 second right in front of us. And then the match is over, and they're hugging and kissing and jumping around. Jerome's out of the mat, and everybody's pretty excited. Other thing, if you look at the program there, leadership, you talk about leadership. David's captain of his high school football team. He's captain of his high school wrestling team. He's captain of his wrestling team up in Wilmer. He's captain of the football team at Morris. So people follow him. He's a leader. And I'm very proud to present him to the Canby Sports Hall of Fame.
We gotta get Jerry the cable guy. Anyway, I'm a real emotional person, and so I'll try to make it through this. And first, I'm gonna get started with. I believe there's two things you try to do every day, and that's one is have fun, and two is to make somebody laugh. And I'm a truck driver, as you know, and the truck driving is real boring. And so about 7 years ago, I decided I'm going to buy a mask. You know, drive around the truck, and somebody sees something funny and put a mask. And so I put this mask on once, and you know, cars drive by, and nobody would look up at the driver. But one day I saw a school bus. I put this on, and I'm coming up to the school bus, and I'm getting close, and I'm giggling the whole way, you know. And two kids in the back of the school bus, they looked back and they saw this, you know, waving, so they turned around, and then the whole school bus is on one side. So if you ever see this on the road, to their office after practice one day, and I thought, what did I do wrong now? But so I go in there and come up with a conference tournament, and I wrestled this guy, or had to wrestle this guy named Tony Crow. He was 5-0, and I was probably 3-2 or something like that. And Hacker and Redson sat me down, and they said, you know, you can win this tournament. And I go, okay, right. So I get home and I tell my dad. They said I can win that tournament, you know. They said I could do it. That's why they believe in you. They believe in you. So here it is, coming to the finals, and getting all warmed up and stuff like that. And here comes Hacker. And Hacker, he gets all excited and stuff like that. And he's standing, I'm getting ready to wrestle. And all of a sudden, Hacker grabs me around the back and he picks me up. And just like, oh, you know, this is like, well, Hacker just opened up a can of whoop ass. And so I go there and I won the tournament. And fast forward to the state tournament my junior year. I'm wrestling back for third and fourth. Wrestle backs, going for third and fourth. And tie running game. And Danny Burkus and Paul Hauge were in the wrestlebacks too. Well, Hacker was over here, Redson was over here, and I had Todd Merritt in my corner. And Todd's going, hey, you know who that guy is? And I said, no, that's Jim Facility. He got fourth in the state last year. You know? And so just all of a sudden, I look over and I see Hacker coming. And he's Hacker coming. And that was it. There was that can of whoop ass again. Excited. He got me fired up, and that's how I am. I'm an emotional guy. And there's over there, always sitting in his chair, that's what it took for me. That's what it took for me. Is for my family believed in me, and my coaches believed in me, and I believed in my coaches. And that's an important thing. That's an important thing. Believe in your kids. Believe in coaches, and that's what made me tick. And when I came back from Vegas was an experience for me. But when I came back, I didn't think I had anything. I came back with a shop bag with a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. And I didn't think I had anything, but little did I know what I had with my family. I had my family, and I had a couple people. Chris told me a few stories about who I was, because I completely forgot who I was and what I was all about. Chris came back and told me a few stories, and he told me who I was, who I used to be, and thanks to Canby, all you people, and my family, wonderful wife, and Paulie, his greatest brother I could ever have, Paulie, and I'm proud to be your brother, and the rest of my family, thanks for believing in me, and giving me a second chance, and the people from Canby, thanks for letting me be me. That's all I've ever wanted to be, is me. Thanks a lot.
In a time-honored Canby tradition, Dave, in a time-honored Canby tradition, from one little old lady to me to you, we're sure glad you came back home. However, if Dave volunteers to mow your lawn, no way! Run! And if you want to know more about that story, talk to my dear, dear friend Merritt. Clue you into that. Well, let's just say he got a little cocky about it. Leave it alone at that. Next up, Mr. Eric Hansen, and he is going to be having Mr. Paul Huber as his presenter, which I never thought of something till just now. With Jim's introduction to the Canby Hall of Fame, we now have our first father-son inductees into the Canby Hall of Fame.
Thanks, Lon. Eric Hansen, what an athlete. Eric was a dominant player in 3 sports. I met Eric when he was just a little baby, and it was a thrill to see Eric grow into the great athlete he became. When you saw Eric, you usually saw him either watching a game or playing a game with a bunch of his friends. Always had a bat, a glove, or some type of ball attached to his hand. Eric grew into one of the greatest all-around athletes this school's ever seen. Eric earning MVP honors 3 times in 2 different sports, all conference, all area in football, basketball, named honorable mention all-state football. Eric was MVP in basketball and baseball. Eric was the ultimate team player, and it's no coincidence coincidence that the teams he played on were extremely successful, winning conference championships in both football and basketball. Basketball is maybe thought to be Eric's strongest sport, where he was MVP in '93 and '94, as well as all conference and all area both those years. Eric holds the boys basketball scoring title still to this day, scoring 1,385 points. And that's as amazing or better than anyone who's ever put on the orange and blue. I may argue that football was Eric's greatest sport. You see, I had the privilege of coaching Eric his last 3 seasons of varsity football, and I got to watch him flourish and develop into an all-state player. Eric played a huge role in our team's success. Eric's junior and senior teams posted a 14-2 one-loss record. One of those losses coming to the #1 team that was rated in the state at the time, but also one of those wins came against the #1 rated team in the state at that time. Eric was loaded with talent and was extremely coachable, and that's a deadly duo and a coach's dream. Eric was one of the best tight ends in the state. Eric still holds the record in Canby football for most receptions in a season, catching 43 his senior year. Eric was arguably one of the best punters in the state. Eric played defensive end. He was a kicker, a punter, so you see Eric was on the field the entire game. I recently asked Tracy, Eric's wife, if she had any good high school stories about Eric. Well, I knew Tracy growing up around Canby her entire life, right? She said, Paul, I was in 5th grade when Eric was a senior. And no, I know what you're thinking. Eric was not dating Tracy when he was in high school. Jason Weber, a teammate of Eric's, told me about Eric's first high school dunk. It came in the Minneota gym. Eric got the crowd so excited with his dunk that Eric himself became very excited. So excited that after the dunk, he forgot to go back and play defense with his other 4 teammates. That was Jason's story. Eric is also coaching Canby for 15 plus years, coaching football, basketball, baseball, and just does a fantastic job with all our youth. A former player of Eric's, who is now playing college basketball, wrote in a letter, Eric was the best coach that I ever had, but was even a better teacher. Eric taught me a lot of things that were greater than the game of basketball. Eric showed me that character and respect are the 2 of the greatest things a person can have. That was written by Matthew Slava. When I think of Eric, I think of 2 words, gentle and giant. Gentle, Eric's demeanor and how he treats others. Giant, Eric's size and intimidating stature. Gentle, Eric's approach to the game. Giant, Eric's performance in the game. Gentle, Eric's humbleness. Always, and I mean always, putting his team first. Giant, Eric's domination on the court and on the field, always delivering for his team. Gentle, Eric's preparation. Always the first one on the field, last one to leave. Never complaining, but always encouraging. Giant, Eric's performance on the field. And understand, the bigger the game was, the bigger that giant became. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is my privilege and honor to present 2016 Hall of Famer, the gentle giant, Eric Hansen.
most of all, I'd like to thank my teammates. The points, the rebounds, it's all, we got to play with the same guys for 3 or 4 years. Had great teams. The points mean nothing. The conference championships, like you said, in the world. Remember, we were just out of school. We were doing these alumni games. Kopperud was playing. We were all born after he played. He came down, and I think he was probably the leading scorer in that alumni games. The points, the eras, it's different. If you were to play with a 3-point line, I don't know how many points you would have had. So the main thing is the teammates, coaches. I grew up as a kid, and my dad helped coach here in sports, so I spent time in the gym. Outside, he was my first basketball coach, probably other than my dad, my own junior high. I was cocky, arrogant, 9th grader. It got attention quite a bit. I believe it was missing broken, but detention. I missed part of practice, and oh boy, I never had a coach yell, and he had saliva buildup. From that day on, I never got attention again. But Kurt going me out and he's here tonight. I had basketball, baseball. I pretty much lived with him for a while. And Mr. Huber here, first coach that really ever did the team thing. Once school was out on game day, you were with teammates. I don't know what it was about him, but he could get kids to do whatever for him. And Huber is around, I have to say, just gets it. Then after high school, in the coaching thing, in the privilege of coaching with David Lepke and Farmer. David Lepke took the team to state here a few years ago. He worked with that group of kids since they played together. It was great. I'm glad they brought me along for the ride at the state tournament. Farmer, the year of the state tournament, I can tell you that is the strongest man I ever know for what he had to deal with that year. No father should ever have to deal with. And the way he composed himself is just amazing, an amazing man. But most of all, it's an honor to be in the Hall of Fame in this town. That's what when I was a kid, I went to state wrestling too. The crowds were amazing. The year we went to state, we went down a day early because when you go to state basketball, Farmer says go there and watch basketball. So we sat there the day before and watched all these 3A schools play, Marshall, I think, Fairmont. We sat there all day, all these open seats. Even Marshall, they sat in the middle. Well, the day before Canby was going to play, we were sitting there, we were in the corner. There was a few Canby people in the corner. We went down in there and when we come back up before our game started, we walked up, we looked at both sides, it was orange and blue, and it was, to this day I still get chills. It's the most amazing things I've ever seen. It's a great community, great support. I hope I can coach here for many more years and kids can play here. Thanks for the nomination.
Brian, Tracy, in your face, 5 minutes and 4 seconds, so take that. Well, at the back going on, Annie doesn't like to get in front of people if you haven't noticed. Amazing individual. I've had the privilege of being able to ride along with the boys basketball team. I had the privilege of going along on that ride to the state tournament, and there's only one goal I had, and that was to be sure I beat Hanny on the bus. And I think I accomplished that most of the time. Our next individual is Mr. Kelly Mortensen, and he will be introduced by Mr. David Smith.
All right, good evening. It's my honor to introduce Kelly Mortensen. Now, I could spend my time and go through his long list of accomplishments, the state meets that he's entered, the All-Americans that he's earned, or the races that he's won. But I'm going to take my 2 minutes and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the character of Kelly. Now, Kelly was always a great teammate. He was always a great friend. He's talented, he was hardworking, he was dedicated to the team, yes. But the two characteristics that I kept coming back to is Kelly is humble and he's very generous. Kelly's always been very humble. He will, anytime he gets praise or acclamations, he would try to deflect that to others. He would say, the team is doing really good, the team is pushing each other. He tried to deflect that to other people. If I could quote our principal, Mr. Eskelson, he would put it like this. Mortensen, that's what Eskelson was. Mortensen, what I like about you is you're really humble. Here's the deal. The people who care about your accomplishments, they already know. The people who don't know about your accomplishments, they don't care. So keep it up. And I think Kelly has kept that up for his entire life. The second thing I would tell you about Kelly is he's very generous. I'm going to take you back to May 8, 2000. Kelly has just finished running the Olympic trials in the marathon, and he placed 12th place. And Kelly and I are standing in the lobby of the hotel. We're waiting to turn in our keys or something. And there's a person in front of us who also ran in the trials the day before, and he's having a conversation with the clerk, and we're kind of just overhearing. And this person, neither of us had met, neither of us had known him before, but we learned later that his name is Scott. Now Scott is saying, I need to stay in my room for one more day. And the clerk says, well, you have to check out. Your reservation is ending today. But Scott says, but I need one more room. I have to have one more night. My flight is not until the next day. And the clerk says, well, but we're totally full. We have no more rooms. You have to check out. And so I'm getting kind of interested how this is all going to turn out. And Kelly, he just steps up to the desk, and this guy's a runner, so he's on Kelly's team. And Kelly says, hey, why don't you just bunk with me for the night? I've got a room with 2 queen-size beds, and it's just me, so why don't you come on over? Now, Scott kind of looks at me like, what are we going to do? I'm like, I don't know. And so he says, no, I can't do that. But Kelly's pretty convincing, and he says, nope, come on, grab your gear, you're bunking with me tonight. So off they go. I think of all the things I would tell you about Kelly, he's a great teammate. He's always been very humble. He's always been very generous. Please join me in welcoming 2016 inductee of Canby Athletic Hall of Fame, Kelly Mortensen.
Thanks, everyone. I just want to say thanks to everyone being here tonight, and I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for the recognition. Certainly one of the most wonderful honors I've ever received, and I'm really proud and flattered to be here tonight. When I think back to the time I spent here at the Lancer, it's always with fond memories. And why wouldn't it be with the nickname of Shine or Shiner? I'm not sure how I got that exactly as a 7th grader from the seniors on the CrossFit team, but it stuck as a 7th grader and had it all the way until I was a senior. were red hair back then, or if I blushed really easily, I am now probably. And so that's the reason. I'm not really sure why, but I have the nickname Shine Forever. So I'm not sure the factors that I got started in running, but there's a couple of them. First, my dad, Norman, I think I was in 5th grade at the time. He got us out to train for the half-day 5 mile with my brothers. My youngest brother, Chris, he was probably in 2nd grade at the time, or 1st grade, so we'd be out running through town and doing the training for the half-day 5 mile. I think once we started to get our dad, he stopped running, but we all stuck with it all through high school. First, and the second thing is fight teacher Bill Bredesen. He saw something in my scrawny frame doing laps around the school, and yes, I wanted to go out for cross country as a 7th grader. So I'd like to first thank Bill Bredesen for getting me out for cross country. He was an excellent coach. He cared for every runner. He nurtured me all through high school, and I just want to thank him. He was coached 2 state championship teams in 1993 and 1995. He led our team in 1988 to a state berth, the first time since 1966. And the year before, Montevideo won the state championship. And they were back again the next year. They all lost 1 runner out of that squad. And we actually beat them as seniors in the regional meet. I'm not sure if you might, but it was a very close race. And I think we peaked at regionals that year just to somehow beat state champ Monty. And we had a great team that year. We had some state entrants, Ryan Cleveland, Travis Dice, other Lancer greats, Dave Smith, Chris Jellin, Chris Berghorst, and Dan Wynne. At state, I think we peaked at regionals. At state, it snowed, I think. I thought it was 3 to 4 inches. I think it's 6 inches. It snowed a lot the night before. And I didn't have a lot of us didn't have spikes. Dave actually didn't even have racing classes or regular shoes for racing and for running. I had some lightweight flats, but there were spikes. So in the snow, most of us were slipping and sliding and falling. I think I fell twice at the state meet. But it was just a great honor just racing with my teammates. I think we finished 6th that season. Also like to thank legendary wrestling coach Jerry Jingles. And I was an average wrestler at the best probably on some great teams. But he instilled a hard work ethic, and I still think some of the hardest times ever running or wrestling were on the practice mats. And there was lots of blood, sweat, and tears in many a practice, that's for sure. And one year I was sandwiched in weight classes between Kim Merritt and Chad Merritt. I got beat up a lot in practice. So. But I worked really hard, and just I want to thank Jerry. One of my fondest moments from high school probably happened as an 8th grader. I was running junior high meets and JV meets most of the year. And Coach Mortenson had to choose the team for regions. And some reason he chose me as an 8th grader. It was all pretty much seniors and juniors on the squad. And my little run self, I was about half the size of everyone else. That year, Redwood Falls was really good. And I think we probably should have won the state that year. We lost by 3 points. One of the Redwood Falls runners actually cut the course, and numerous people saw them cut the course, or saw this guy cut the course, but he didn't get disqualified, and so we lost by 3 points to Redwood Falls that year. A lot has happened to me since I've left Canby. I guess I've been running all my life, it seems like. I've seen lots of my running dreams come true. I blossomed at Morris State, 5-time All-American. I'm after college with Jerry and Bill kind of whispering in the back of my head, keep on pushing and working. I got up to 140, 150 mile weeks running wise, and I ran a sub 2-hour and 20-minute marathon. I qualified for Olympic trials, and somehow at the Olympic trials I finished 12th, dismissed in the Olympics by 9 spots. And I've got some nice awards and some recognition from my peers. I've even won some prize money on the road and track. But all of these things when I was here in Canby as a Lancer were kind of beyond my wildest dreams at the time. Now as I get older, I'm so thankful for the support my mom and my dad gave me, Norman and Cheryl. I'd like to thank my wife and stuff. She's sort of the runner in the family these days. She's big into marathons and ultras, and I still run a little bit, but not as much as her. And that's what I say. Thank you. And I still have an overwhelming interest in running. I own a running specialty store now, so my passion is more into the store. It's more business driven. So we sell everything running, shoes and apparel, and track shoes. And I just want to thank everyone. And have a great night.
Next up, a family name that is synonymous with Canby wrestling. Our next inductee is Chad Merritt. Brent, would you come and introduce him?
Good evening. I want to say congratulations to all the inductees tonight. It's pretty cool for me. I was a good friend of Eric's growing up, so it's nice to see him here. The 86 team, they were my first idols when I was a kid. So that's really cool. Those guys, Lynn, you're laughing at me. I've known Dave my whole life as well, so that's it's cool to be up here with him too. And Ellie, watched me wrestle when I was a kid, so very honored to be up here. Chad wants me to give his speech as well, but I'm going to make him come up here. But a couple things that you maybe don't know about Chad. One, he has a pet pig named Porky, and it weighs 175 pounds. So that's always humorous to me whenever I talk to him. I ask him how his pig's doing. So it still lays on his back and wants me to pet his belly. On his 40th birthday, he lost half a finger. I called him, I said, Chad, how's your birthday? Happy 40th. Oh, it's going good, thanks for calling, you know, whatever. Lost half my finger this morning. No big deal. But that's the way that he is. Every time I talk to him, it's laughing, joking. And he's not just an uncle, he's a friend. He's a good guy. You break down some of these stats as a wrestler that still amaze me to this day. Career record of 143, 13, and 1. Was the winningest wrestler in Canby until 1995. Of those 143 wins, in grades 9th through 12th grade, he was 88-0 in the regular season. Anybody that's ever wrestled knows that is absolutely incredible. I asked Jerry if anybody else has ever been a regular season undefeated wrestler, and Jerry said, no, I don't think so. It's anybody that understands the grind and know that for 4 straight years, not when it always mattered, because it wasn't postseason, this or that, but to go out there every single night, 88 times and win is something that I don't think we'll ever see again. I hope we do, but I don't know if we will. You look at the 88 wins and you say, okay, he had 143 career wins. He did have 4 wins in 8th grade. First 8th grader in Canby history to wrestle on varsity. You take those wins and you add 88, you take that away from the 143, that's 51 postseason wins in his career. 51 times he won after the regular season was over. that again, to me, is just simply amazing. That is an average of over 11 matches a year in the whole season that are wins. Some of my greatest memories were watching him wrestle. He, in 1986, being part of that great team, I remember the crowd when we beat Staples, everybody jumping on their seats in St. Paul Civic Center. I remember in 88, I'm an emotional dude. After we won a state title, he gave me a big hug, and that was really cool to me too. But that's how he still is. Every time I talk to him, he ends it with, "I love you. Say hi to the boys. Say hi to Tony. Hope all is well." Always caring about me and others. That's the guy that I know. That's the guy that I love. With that, I'll bring him up here. He doesn't have a lot to say, I know. I try to take up as much of our time as I can, so he can't embarrass me too much. I was there when he was homecoming king. It was quite embarrassing. But we'll let him talk. And as he said, he goes, "I can't outdo Dave," so I'm not going to say Thomas. So, here we go.
Hello. I want to thank you, Brian. You did a great job. And David, you took my speech. I don't know. That was the best. I love you. Well, here we were talking about Jeff. Jeff took us down. I was like a little guy, well, 4th grade, 3rd grade. We were going to Iowa. So we picked up Gilbert, Christianson, and Jerry Strzelski, and Todd Merritt, and I got to go with. So we headed all the way down to Iowa. And like Hubert said, the little guy and the basketball player got first. It's like, that's right, it's awesome. But I want to thank everybody here. I want to thank my mom and dad, Bobby, Jeff and Fred, my heroes, right? The 86 wrestling team, the Cocklemans, and all you guys out there. I want to thank you very much for cheering us on and following us like Lynn would say. And Russ, of course, my bud. We had a lot of good times this year. Good times. I just couldn't do the Mohawk. I want to thank Kelly and Jacob and Maddie, my personal family there, for coming tonight. Dad, you're a good guy. And Jerry Jingles, of course. You know, just to the T. And Brennison, Stonehands, we call him. But I want to thank you guys for everything. And I couldn't wait for the day to get my picture up there next to Fred and Jeff. The two guys that set the goal, set the and wanted to be a state champion. I want to thank you very much. And I guess we're all going to go to Legion and have a beer. Stop by. I'm signing over.
Well, on behalf of the Hall of Fame Committee, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming out this evening to help honor these both worthy inductees. And why don't we give this group, this 2016 class, one more big round of applause. For those of you who have never seen it, the Hall of Fame is right out these two doors on the back side of the wall here. Take some time, go take a look at the inductees over the years. If some of you are so inclined, we as a committee sure wouldn't turn down any help tearing this thing back down again. For you Canby people, Tuesday night, the girls will be in action here taking on Lacaparo Valley, and on Friday night, the boys football team will be in action taking on Minneota. With that, as always, be safe going home. Good night. God bless.